My mom will say that guy that you see in the movies is actually who he was. People don't really know, don't really understand. They just see the warrior, but they don't see that he was like a warrior poet.
For decades, Bruce Lee's legacy has lived on through movies, memories, and mystery. But now, his daughter has stepped forward with words no one expected to hear. After years of staying quiet, she's finally breaking her silence, and what she shared is turning heads around the world. From growing up as the child of a global icon to protecting her father's name, her story reveals a side of the legend fans rarely see. This isn't just about Bruce Lee. It's about the truth his daughter is finally ready to tell. So join us in this video as we reveal what she has to say, setting the record straight. 50 years after Bruce Lee's tragic death, his daughter Shannon Lee stepped forward with a mission that felt deeply personal. She wasn't chasing headlines, she was protecting her father's truth. Through her book, In My Own Process, Shannon offered fans something they had never truly seen before. Bruce Lee, not just as a legend, but as a man. The book painted an intimate portrait of his life, using never-before-seen photos, private journals, handwritten poems, sketches, training notes, movie ideas, and personal reflections from the time he first arrived in America with big dreams and little security. For Shannon, this project became more than a tribute. It turned into a way to challenge the growing wave of rumors and online claims that had slowly reshaped her father's image. Over the years, a harsh narrative had taken hold, one that described Bruce as constantly angry, arrogant, and difficult. Shannon openly pushed back against that version of him. She admitted that, like anyone, her father had moments of anger, but she explained that his frustration often came from broken promises, unfair treatment, and the barriers he faced in Hollywood at a time when opportunities for Asian actors were painfully limited. She shared that Bruce had worked hard on himself, emotionally and mentally. He had studied philosophy, self-discipline, and personal growth just as seriously as he trained his body. According to Shannon, people often mistook his strong belief in himself for arrogance. In reality, she described him as honest, thoughtful, and constantly striving to improve, not just as a martial artist, but as a human being. Although Shannon had been only 4 years old when Bruce passed away, her memories of him stayed vivid in a different way. She didn't remember fame or movie sets. She remembered feelings. She recalled warmth, attention, and playfulness. She remembered a man who made her feel safe, loved, and protected. Those early memories shaped her understanding of who her father truly had been. Not a myth, not a stereotype, but a caring and deeply present dad. Through her book and interviews, Shannon worked to replace the loud myths with quiet truth. She wanted the world to see the full picture. A man who fought hard battles, felt deep frustrations, but also carried love, humor, and humility. In telling his story through his own writings and private thoughts, she hoped his real voice would finally be heard again. So who really was the man Shannon spoke up for after all these years? And how did he rise to fame? Keep watching to find out. From Jun Fan to a global icon. Bruce Lee was born Lee Jun Fan in 1940 in San Francisco, California, while his parents were touring the United States with a Cantonese opera company. His father, Lee Hoi Chuen, had been a well-known opera singer and film actor in Hong Kong, and his mother, Grace Ho, had come from a wealthy Eurasian family with English, Chinese, and Dutch roots. Only a few months after his birth, the family had returned to Hong Kong, where Bruce spent most of his childhood. At first, the Lee family lived comfortably thanks to his father's successful career. But their lives had changed drastically during World War II, when Hong Kong fell under Japanese occupation from 1941 to 1945. Like many families, they endured years of fear, shortages, and uncertainty. After Japan surrendered, Hong Kong slowly began rebuilding, and Bruce's father resumed his opera work. His fame helped Bruce gain admission to LaSalle College at age 12, but school had not been easy for him. He had been energetic, restless, and often distracted, struggling to fit into the strict academic environment. His parents later transferred him to St. Francis Xavier's College, hoping a new setting would help. As a teenager, Bruce often found himself in street fights and clashes with local gangs. Worried about his safety, his parents decided he needed discipline and direction. They introduced him to Wing Chun Kung Fu under the legendary Ip Man. Bruce threw himself into training with intense focus. However, his mixed heritage nearly prevented him from learning at all, since many traditional schools at the time only accepted students of pure Chinese ancestry. He was eventually allowed to join after a friend spoke on his behalf, though some classmates later refused to train with him. Despite this, Bruce continued learning through private lessons with Ip Man and a small group of dedicated students, progressing quickly. By age 18, he was already winning Hong Kong boxing tournaments. Still, his frequent street fights worried his parents. After one especially serious altercation, they made the difficult decision to send him back to the United States just before his 19th birthday, hoping he would find better opportunities and avoid further trouble. Bruce first went to San Francisco, where his sister Agnes and other relatives lived, before moving to Seattle to finish high school. There, he worked various jobs while continuing to train and teach martial arts. He began blending Wing Chun with techniques from other styles, forming the foundation of what would later become Jeet Kune Do. Among his first students were Jesse Glover, who became his assistant instructor, and several judo practitioners introduced by his friend James Yim Lee. By 1961, Bruce had opened his own martial arts school in Seattle and enrolled at the University of Washington, studying philosophy and drama. But his passion for martial arts and teaching soon outweighed his academic path, and he left university in 1964 to fully pursue his evolving system. That same year, he stunned audiences at the Long Beach International Karate Championships. During a demonstration, he performed his famous one-inch punch on volunteer Bob Baker, sending him backward into a chair with explosive force. The display became legendary in martial arts circles. Around this time, Bruce also fought Wong Jacken in a private match in San Francisco's Chinatown. The fight centered on his decision to teach martial arts to non-Chinese students, challenging long-standing traditions. Bruce's victory reinforced both his skill and his belief that martial arts should be shared openly. By the mid-1960s, his growing reputation led to Hollywood opportunities. He was cast as Kato in The Green Hornet in 1966, introducing American audiences to authentic kung fu. Though the show was short-lived, his speed and screen presence stood out. He later founded the Junfan Gung Fu Institute and continued developing Jeet Kune Do, emphasizing adaptability, efficiency, and physical conditioning. Despite his talent, racial stereotypes limited his roles in Hollywood. He worked with figures like Sterling Siliphant and James Coburn, contributing to projects and refining his ideas about filmmaking, though many scripts went unproduced. In 1971, encouraged to look toward Hong Kong cinema, Bruce discovered he was already famous there as Kato. He signed with Golden Harvest and starred in The Big Boss, which broke box office records across Asia. His next film, Fist of Fury, strengthened his image as both a fierce fighter and a proud symbol of Chinese identity. Then, in 1972, The Way of the Dragon gave him full creative control, including the now iconic fight with Chuck Norris in Rome. The film blended action with humor and philosophy, becoming his most personal project. Soon after, Bruce co-founded Concord Production Inc. and starred in Enter the Dragon in 1973, the first major Hollywood kung fu film produced by Warner Brothers. Playing a Shaolin fighter on a secret mission, Bruce captivated global audiences. The movie earned over $90 million worldwide and sparked an international martial arts craze, securing his place as a cultural legend whose influence would last for generations. Beyond his love for martial arts, what else was Bruce Lee known for? Let's find out. The philosopher behind the fighter. Although the world had come to know Bruce Lee primarily as a martial arts legend, his inner world had been shaped just as deeply by philosophy, literature, and art. During his time at the University of Washington, he had studied drama along with both Asian and Western philosophy. He had been an intense reader, building a personal library filled with books on martial arts, psychology, self-development, and philosophical thought. For Bruce, fighting had never been just about physical skill. It had been a form of self-expression and a path toward understanding life itself. He often explained that martial arts had been a metaphor, a physical language used to explore deeper truths about identity, freedom, and self-knowledge. He believed that all real learning eventually led a person inward. His training had not only strengthened his body, but also sharpened his awareness of who he was and how he moved through the world. The ideas he explored in combat mirrored the ideas he explored in thought: adaptability, honesty, and the rejection of rigid systems. Bruce had drawn inspiration from both Taoism and Buddhism, especially their focus on flow, balance, and inner awareness. At the same time, he had rejected strict traditional structures, particularly the rigid social hierarchy associated with Confucian thinking. His views leaned toward personal freedom rather than obedience to fixed roles. According to biographer John Little, Bruce identified as an atheist. In a 1972 interview, when asked about religion, he answered plainly that he had none. When questioned about belief in God, he responded with calm honesty that he did not hold such beliefs. His notebooks revealed how widely he had explored human thought. He had written reflections on Western philosophers like Plato, David Hume, René Descartes, and Thomas Aquinas. From Eastern traditions, he studied Lao Tzu, Chuang Tzu, and the samurai writer Miyamoto Musashi. He had also admired the modern spiritual thinker Alan Watts and showed a strong interest in the teachings of Jiddu Krishnamurti, whose ideas about truth and inner freedom resonated deeply with him. Bruce's creativity had extended beyond martial arts and philosophy into poetry. His poems, many written by hand in private notebooks, expressed emotional struggles, personal growth, and moments of deep reflection. They were later collected and edited for publication, with John Little helping organize much of his written work. His wife, Linda Lee Cadwell, shared these writings with the world, noting that his poems revealed a more vulnerable and thoughtful side that many fans had never seen. Many of his poems were considered anti-poetry, resisting traditional structure and instead embracing paradox and emotional contrast. Light and dark, strength and softness, confidence and doubt all appeared side by side, much like the balance symbolized in yin and yang. The tone of his poetry often carried a quiet heaviness, reflecting the inner questions he wrestled with about purpose, identity, and the human condition. In this way, his writing shared emotional ground with poets who explored life's deeper shadows. Just as in his martial arts philosophy, he resisted fixed form. His free verse style echoed one of his most famous ideas: to be formless and adaptable, like water. Through words as well as movement, Bruce Lee had searched for truth, not in rigid answers, but in honest expression. Just how complicated was Bruce Lee's personal life? Keep watching to find out. Love, loss, and a complicated personal life. While studying at the University of Washington, Bruce Lee met Linda Emery, a fellow student who was training to become a teacher. Their connection grew quickly, but their relationship faced quiet challenges. At the time, interracial marriage was still illegal in several U.S. states, and social attitudes were often harsh. Because of this, Bruce and Linda chose to marry in secret in August 1964, beginning a partnership that would stand beside Bruce through the most important years of his life. Together, they had 2 children, Brandon, born in 1965, and Shannon, born in 1969. Despite his rising fame and demanding schedule, Bruce was known to be deeply affectionate with his family. After his sudden passing in 1973, Linda took on the responsibility of preserving his work and philosophy. She worked to promote Jeet Kune Do and protect Bruce's image from being reduced to just a movie star or action figure. In 1975, she wrote Bruce Lee, The Man Only I Knew, a personal account that later inspired the 1993 film Dragon, The Bruce Lee Story. She followed this with another book, The Bruce Lee Story, in 1989. After years of managing his legacy, She stepped away from the family estate in 2001. Bruce had also begun sharing his world with his son, Brandon, at an early age. He taught him martial arts and sometimes brought him to film sets, sparking Brandon's interest in acting. As he grew older, Brandon pursued that dream seriously, studying performance and landing roles in action films such as Legacy of Rage, Showdown in Little Tokyo, and Rapid Fire. Many fans saw not just a resemblance, but the same quiet intensity his father carried. Tragedy struck in 1993 when Brandon, only 28 years old, died after being accidentally shot by a prop gun on the set of The Crow. The heartbreaking incident shocked the film world and reopened emotional wounds for a family that had already endured so much loss. Years later, Bruce Lee's name surfaced again in an unexpected way. In July 2021, a private collection of more than 40 handwritten letters he had sent to his Fist of Fury co-star Robert "Bob" Baker was sold at auction for a large sum. The letters, written between 1967 and 1973, reportedly included personal requests for Baker to send substances such as painkillers and other substances. The discovery led to renewed public discussion about Bruce's health during the final years of his life. Some medical professionals, including a Hong Kong doctor quoted in reports, suggested that substance use, including possible substance use, might have contributed to his physical collapse in May 1973, just weeks before his death. These claims remained part of an ongoing debate, rather than confirmed conclusions. For many fans, these revelations added complexity to Bruce Lee's story. He was still the disciplined martial artist and deep thinker, but also a human being who lived under intense pressure, physical pain, and the weight of global fame. His life, like his philosophy, was not simple or one-dimensional. It was filled with brilliance, struggle, love, ambition, and unanswered questions, a legacy that his family continued to carry with both pride and resilience. So, how did the legendary Bruce Lee face his untimely demise, and what caused it? Let's find out. The day the world lost Bruce Lee. On May 10, 1973, Bruce Lee's health took a frightening turn. While working on automated dialogue replacement for Enter the Dragon at Orange Sky Golden Harvest Film Studio in Hong Kong, he suddenly collapsed. Witnesses reported that he had been suffering from severe headaches and what appeared to be seizure-like symptoms. He was rushed to Hong Kong Baptist Hospital, where doctors diagnosed cerebral edema, a dangerous swelling of the brain. He had also developed a high fever and was completely unconscious, showing no clear signs of breathing when he arrived. Doctors administered mannitol, a medication used to reduce brain swelling, and were able to stabilize him. Later, medical evaluations in the United States reportedly suggested he had a convulsive disorder, though the long-term implications were never fully clarified at the time. Just over 2 months later, on July 20, 1973, Bruce was again in Hong Kong, this time planning a dinner meeting with actor George Lazenby to discuss a future film project. Earlier that afternoon, he had met producer Raymond Chow at his home around 2 p.m. to work on Game of Death. After several hours, they drove together to the apartment of actress Betty Ting around 5 p.m., where they continued discussing the script. At some point that evening, Bruce complained of a headache. Betty reportedly gave him a painkiller, and he lay down for a nap. Chow left around 8 p.m. for his dinner engagement, expecting Bruce to join later. When Bruce never arrived, concern began to grow. Around 9:45 p.m., Chow returned to the apartment but could not wake him. A private physician, Dr. Chu Po-hui, was called at about 10 p.m. Since Bruce's personal doctor could not be reached, Chu attempted for roughly 10 minutes to revive him, but found no vital signs. Bruce was taken by ambulance to Queen Elizabeth Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. He was just 32 years old. Bruce Lee was laid to rest at Lakeview Cemetery in Seattle. His funeral on July 25, 1973, drew both family and close friends, including notable figures such as Steve McQueen and James Coburn. The official autopsy was conducted by Donald Tier, a respected British pathologist. His conclusion was death by misadventure, stating that Bruce had died from cerebral edema caused by a reaction to ingredients in the pain medication Equigesic, which contained aspirin and the sedative meprobamate. Reports noted that Bruce's brain had swollen significantly. A coroner's court later agreed with this verdict. Still, his sudden death at such a young age sparked widespread speculation. Rumors ranged from organized crime involvement to supposed family curses. Hong Kong tabloids especially fueled these theories, and public fascination only deepened as his fame continued to grow after his passing. There was also early speculation about cannabis found in his system, but medical experts at the time dismissed the idea that it played a meaningful role in either his May collapse or his death in July. Later reviews by American forensic institutions similarly concluded they could not link cannabis intoxication to the cause of death. In the decades that followed, new theories continued to emerge. In a 2018 biography, author Matthew Polly consulted medical specialists and proposed that Bruce may have suffered from heat stroke, which could have worsened brain swelling. Polly noted that Bruce had undergone surgery to remove underarm sweat glands, possibly affecting his ability to regulate body temperature during intense training in hot weather. In 2022, researchers writing in a medical journal explored another explanation: hyponatremia, a condition involving dangerously low sodium levels in the blood. They argued that Bruce's symptoms and lifestyle factors might have aligned with this diagnosis, which can lead to fatal brain swelling. Even more recently, in 2025, a Hong Kong television program presented expert opinions suggesting Bruce may have died from sudden, unexpected death in epilepsy. According to that discussion, earlier conclusions might have missed key neurological factors, either due to limited medical understanding at the time or efforts to protect his public image. More than 50 years later, the exact cause of Bruce Lee's death remained a subject of debate. What never changed, however, was the impact of his life. His passing left behind grief, mystery, and unanswered questions, but also a legacy powerful enough to outlive every theory. What legacy did Bruce Lee leave behind? Keep watching to find out. A legacy that changed the world. Bruce Lee is widely regarded as one of the most influential martial artists of all time and a true pop culture icon of the 20th century. His impact extended far beyond the dojo or the silver screen, bridging cultures between East and West. Time magazine recognized his significance by naming him one of the 100 most important people of the 20th century, a rare honor that reflected both his artistic and cultural influence. Lee's life and career inspired countless biographies, with one book selling over 4 million copies by 1988 alone. Beyond martial arts, he reshaped the representation of Asians in American films. Before Lee, Asian men were often portrayed through limiting stereotypes, as emasculated, submissive, or comic figures. Bruce defied these expectations entirely. University of Michigan lecturer Ye Seung-chung observed that he helped create a new archetype, the strong, tough, and confident Asian male. His friend Amy Sanbo recalled that in a time when many Asians felt pressure to conform to white ideals, Bruce embraced his heritage proudly, busting with it, and showing the world that being Chinese was a source of strength and pride. Lee's popularity initially grew among Black, Asian, and Hispanic audiences in North America, communities that connected with his energy, skill, and presence. Within the Black community, he became one of the most admired figures of the 1970s, second only to heavyweight boxing legend Muhammad Ali. Bruce Lee's influence went beyond action films or martial arts. He reshaped perceptions, challenged stereotypes, and left a cultural legacy that continues to inspire generations worldwide, a testament to his unmatched talent, vision, and charisma. Now we know how Bruce Lee rose to fame and passed on tragically. Let's get to know about his daughter, who broke her silence after a long time. Shannon Lee, carrying the legacy forward. Shannon Lee was born on April 19, 1969, at Santa Monica General Hospital in California, the daughter of Bruce Lee and Linda Lee Cadwell. She grew up with her older brother, Brandon Lee, who had been born in 1965 and would later follow in their father's footsteps before his tragic death in 1993. Shannon's early childhood was split between Los Angeles and Hong Kong, giving her a life shaped by both Eastern and Western cultures. After her father's passing, the family eventually settled permanently in Los Angeles in 1974. As she grew older, Shannon developed an interest in the martial arts that had defined her father's life. She trained in Jeet Kune Do, the philosophy-based fighting system Bruce had created, studying first under Richard Bustillo, one of her father's original students. In the late 1990s, she began training more seriously, especially when preparing for action film roles. During that period, she also worked with Ted Wong, another of Bruce Lee's former students. Her martial arts education didn't stop there. She studied Taekwondo with Dong Doa Lin, trained in Wushu with Eric Chen. She learned kickboxing from world champion Benny the Jet Urquidez, building a well-rounded foundation across multiple disciplines. But Shannon's talents weren't limited to martial arts. She attended Tulane University in New Orleans from 1987 to 1991, where she pursued the performing arts. She earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in vocal performance and appeared in musicals, operas, and concerts during her college years. Her time at Tulane helped shape her confidence as a performer and artist. In 2020, she reflected on those years during a live conversation with Tulane alumni, discussing her education, her career, and the lasting influence of her father's legacy. Shannon stepped into acting in 1993 with a small cameo in Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, a film based on her mother's book. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, she took on several modest roles in films including High Voltage, Enter the Eagles, She, Me, and Her, and even a brief appearance in Blade. Over time, though, she found herself drawn more to creative work behind the camera. Her final on-screen appearance came in the 2012 short film Tekken Reload. By the mid-2000s, Shannon had shifted her focus toward producing and preserving her father's creative vision. Her first major project as a producer was the 2008 television series Li Xiaolong Chuan Qi, The Legend of Bruce Lee, a 50-episode drama chronicling Bruce's life from Hong Kong to international fame. She later produced additional television films in 2009 and 2012 centered on his legacy. In 2016, she announced a new project that felt especially meaningful, serving as executive producer of Warrior, a martial arts crime drama inspired by an idea that her father had originally developed decades earlier. The series premiered in 2019 and was set in 1870s San Francisco, exploring the struggles of Chinese immigrants. Shannon shared in an interview that she had long heard about her father pitching the concept, but only later discovered that his original written materials truly existed. The show eventually found new life on streaming, with its third season premiering in 2023. Outside of her professional life, Shannon built a family of her own. She married Ian Kiesler in 1994, and together they welcomed their daughter, Ren Lee Kiesler, in 2003. Ren later followed a family tradition by attending Tulane University, just like her mother. Shannon has occasionally shared glimpses of their close bond on social media. In 2020, she and Ren marked what would have been Bruce Lee's 80th birthday with a heartfelt tribute on his official YouTube channel. On Mother's Day in 2023, Shannon posted a photo featuring herself, her daughter, and her mother, celebrating what she warmly called a special day for the Lee ladies. How did Shannon turn her grief into a purposeful work? Stay tuned to find out. Turning tragedy into purpose. The loss of Shannon Lee's older brother, Brandon, left a permanent mark on her life. In 1993, the tragedy shook the film industry and devastated the Lee family, who had already endured the sudden loss of Bruce 2 decades earlier. Years later, Shannon began speaking more publicly about the need for stronger safety measures on movie sets. In 2021, after cinematographer Helena Hutchins was assassinated on the set of Rust when a prop gun discharged a real bullet, Shannon called for mandatory gun safety training in film productions. She described existing safety standards as frustrating and inadequate, especially considering that similar preventable tragedies had already happened in the past. Her message came from lived experience, not politics. A daughter and sister who knew the cost of on-set negligence. In 2023, when actor Alec Baldwin faced legal charges connected to the Rust incident, Shannon supported an editorial that urged the industry to ban real firearms from film sets entirely. She continued to advocate for safer alternatives, arguing that modern filmmaking technology made the use of real weapons unnecessary. Alongside her activism, Shannon also carried the responsibility of protecting her father's legacy. She became CEO of the Bruce Lee Family Company, which she officially established in 2011 after gaining control over Bruce Lee's name and image rights. However, she had already been managing and safeguarding his legacy since 2000. She often said the company was originally passed down from her mother, Linda, who still served as a trusted advisor. Beyond business, Shannon dedicated herself to meaningful outreach. She served as president of the Bruce Lee Foundation, a nonprofit focused on education and personal growth, inspired by Bruce Lee's philosophy. Through initiatives like Camp Bruce Lee, a summer program for children, she worked to share lessons about confidence, self-expression, and resilience with younger generations. For Shannon, honoring her father wasn't only about preserving history. It was about helping people apply his ideas to their own lives. What are your thoughts on what Bruce Lee's daughter shared? Let us know in the comments section below. Shannon Lee finally breaking her silence isn't just another celebrity headline. It's a powerful reminder of the human story behind a global icon. From preserving her father's philosophy and martial arts legacy to sharing personal memories, advocating for safety, and guiding new generations, Shannon shows us the depth, resilience, and heart of the Lee family. If you were amazed by her revelations and inspired by how she carries Bruce Lee's legacy forward, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Click the next video to uncover even more untold stories from the world of martial arts and legendary icons.